radio host, comedian, and author of Conexus, Todd Gale.
How you doing?
Man, so good to see you, buddy. You know, every time, I get an opportunity to sit down with someone who is truly a comedian who has laughter, but everything else. I mean, it's almost like you're on the edge of your seat, and
we're unpredictable.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen here today?
You have that as well, and you've written a book. And this is pretty amazing because it's kind of like dystopian fiction meets reality. And you started off getting into becoming an author because of a thought you had. Talk to us about that.
I had this idea for a comedy bit where robots are going to try and take over the world.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what if they did and only good things happened and nobody really got upset?
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew from there, and then the story kind of developed, and I thought, what if people thought God was actually moving through this artificial intelligence, trying to get our attention? And then I thought, well, we're people. People would start worshiping artificial intelligence, and then things would really get confused. And then I thought, well, okay, let's develop this even more. And out of it came this story called Conexus. And Conexus is the actual name of the artificial intelligence that people are. They don't know what to think of this thing. Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah.
Should we be scared?
Yeah.
Or is it something that we should welcome? And that's how I built the story.
Well, you know what? It's fascinating. And the thing that really fascinated me the most is I was saying, how did that start? And out of your mind, and how did you come to faith and begin to now start putting God in the future of good robots like the reverse Terminator?
Yeah, exactly.
Where did your relationship with him start?
Well, going back into the 80s, I guess the early 80s, I was watching television, and I actually prayed for salvation while watching the 700 Club with Pat Robertson.
Wow.
I grew up in Southern Ontario, so we only got American TV,
yes.
And so that's what I would watch. But even going back further, the seeds were sown even further back. I got a Bible from the Gideon's Bible men in our school. So they came around and handed out Bibles. And I kept that Bible. And I would read that Bible. And the first book of the Bible that I ever read was the book of Revelation. Now, I don't recommend that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you jumped right in, didn't you?
It was a lot confusing. And you know what? But I liked the whole imagery because, Star Wars and that, I was kind of a sci-fi guy. And I liked the whole weirdness that was going on. And it was kind of appealing. I didn't understand any of that.
Yeah.
But further down the road, as God dealt with my heart, I'm kind of I don't know if you say it, an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I don't know. It's one of those things. But God had to get me alone in my living room, in front of that television, and have somebody pray with me by myself, because there were a few opportunities where there were groups of people and there were altar calls, and I just said, no, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment that God came into my life, and I just wanted to do everything that I did for him, no matter what it was.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on the edge of tears right now just talking, because it's laughter and everything, and I shouldn't be laughing at that, but it is funny. No, not right now.
No. I was like, I felt the pressure.
Yeah.
And I was there with some friends, and this girl from my high school turned around during this one meeting, and she had this glow, like very happy, and said, "Would you like to receive Christ?" And I said, "No," because it wasn't time yet. I wasn't ready. See, some things happen instantly, but take years to happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right time, but it was building towards that.
Is that how your comedian and comedy career? 2014 traveling as well.
Yeah, I think so, because, always just kind of saying these things, and then at some point you think, I should write these down. And then I thought, you know what, I should develop these even more. And it starts as a seed and it grows, right?
Yes.
So some of these ideas, if you have an idea, say, hey, what if robots tried to take over the world? You write that down and you see where you can go from that.
But, I love that, because when you start thinking about how art and, also and in reality, how faith plays a part in that. Why and how do you believe that faith really does actually come and give that its full expression?
I think it always begins with that seed. And I always tell people that a seed, when you put it in the ground, you lose sight of it. And all of the things that are cool that happen with the seed happen out of our sight.
Yeah.
So if people would have looked at me, say, in those gospel meetings that I attended, and I said no, they would have thought, well, Todd had a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get another one, maybe not. You could give up on people very quickly.
Right.
but you don't see under the ground where everything's happening.
That's good.
All the roots are developing, all the structure that needs to happen. And then when that moment, when that seed pops out of the ground, hey, everybody rejoices, something's going on. But even then, it's still not mature and not developed yet.
Yeah.
So don't get too excited.
There's still work to do.
There's still a lot of work and a lot of growing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's how faith works. Jesus would talk about that a lot. Back then, people knew everything about farming.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything about farming. I'm jealous of these people. These people know how to make food from the ground.
Yeah.
Like, we would survive and starve. I don't know how to do that. And those seeds come up, and every year in spring, you just look out over a muddy field. Yeah. It's messy, it doesn't look right, but there's things going on in there.
Wow, there's a lot going on. And, part of that is the product that comes out of that, the fruit of that. And that's what Conexus is as well. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about not only the story of what God did in your heart to bring this about. We found out about the AI, but how does this now translate to that person that's listening outside? And what's the practical that you want them to get out of this?
Well, if you read the book, there are many different characters in the book, and they all take a plane ride somewhere where they don't know they're going.
Yeah.
And each person that is a character in this book has something different. There's an atheist that's on the plane. There's a very religious man that's on the train, or the plane. And there's also a guy who had faith and he walked away from his faith. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of doesn't have a taste for it anymore. There's a guy who's a social media giant. There's a guy who's a general or a lieutenant actually in the Army, and he's by the book. And that's what he wants to do. So all of these characters represent a different aspect of where people might be in their faith journey. And they're going to go somewhere where some decisions are going to need to be made, or they're just going to grow. And like I said, maybe that seed's going to develop a little bit more.
You raised a thought that caused me to just kind of raise my eyebrow. Is technology evil or is it good?
It's how you use it. I would say it's just like anything else. Like, this thing could be a huge blessing, or it could not be. And it's all in how you handle these things. We've been given such great things in this earth. We have money, we have time, we have food, we have attention, we have relationships. How are we going to use those things? Mm-hmm. It's always a decision that needs to be made. And you know what? We're going to make wrong decisions. I've made a ton of wrong decisions. Basically, this book at its root is about relationships. Yeah. You're going to screw them up. You're going to make a mess. You're going to offend people. That's just going to happen. But the end result is worth it.
And with that, how do you get those relationships back on track?
How do you? That is the challenge. Being willing, being open, and never shutting down too much. Some people, you just need not to be around those people. But there are other people that are maybe a little rough around the edges, but they just need some time, they need some attention, just like that field.
Yeah. If I asked you to juggle, would you do that for me?
What do you got?
Right.
What do you got? We got something around the studio that I could juggle?
There's a few things.
What do you want broken? That's basically.
Yeah. I've watched with some of your jugglings. I don't really want you to do that, but I do want to thank you for this Conexus, because it is not only fascinating, but it also is inspiring, because it tells us that there is no such thing as just a showstopper, that God can redeem. And technology is here to stay.
Well, I hope people enjoy reading it.
Well, they will. Where can they get this?
ToddGale.ca.
All right. Make sure that you get this, ToddGale.ca. And my friend and brother from another mother, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
What a joy. We now look at one of our partner ministries, the Windsor Life Center, and its founder, Kathy Shermatero.